Let's talk about something that absolutely everybody needs, whether you're rolling in cash or living paycheck to paycheck, and that's your emergency fund. So as an example, ask yourself this. If your car suddenly broke down tomorrow, or you lost your job with no warning, how long could you keep paying your bills before things got really stressful? Most people get a little uneasy just thinking about it. And honestly, that sinking what if feeling is exactly why today we're digging into why you need an emergency fund, how much you actually need stashed away, and some set it and forget it tricks to make saving way easier. Here's how we're going to break it down. So first, we'll talk about the real power behind an emergency fund, how much is enough and where you should keep it, and then also how to make saving easy. Some surprising uses and one weird fact that I found out, and then finally the bigger picture. Stick around for practical steps and a couple of personal stories, plus one thing people almost never think about with emergency savings. Alright, let me explain the situation with an example. Alex gets laid off unexpectedly. No warning, just a meeting one morning, and suddenly he's out of a job. His paychecks have stopped, but obviously his bills don't. But Alex isn't panicking. Why? He has about 4 months of living expenses in a high-yield savings account. Is he thrilled about the situation? Probably not. Has his life been upended? No. He coasts along, finds another job, doesn't go into debt, and his hairline doesn't recede overnight. This is the number one reason emergency funds matter. They can turn a crisis into an inconvenience instead of a full-blown disaster. With cash reserves, you're not stuck putting surprise expenses on credit cards, taking out wild loans, or feeling like you've lost control every time something breaks. It could be your car, your boiler, a medical bill, even your phone. Life throws curveballs, but with an emergency cushion, you're ready to catch them. And also, more than just money, an emergency fund is a peace of mind fund. It's going to help you sleep better at night. What about you? Have you ever had a moment where an emergency fund saved a day? Or the opposite and not having one made things harder? Drop your story in the comments. Okay, so let's get into the numbers. When it comes to emergency funds, a lot of rules of thumb get thrown around. The classic advice? Aim for 3 to 6 months worth of essential expenses. Think rent, mortgage, groceries, utilities, basic recurring costs. So if you spend $2,000 a month on the basics, you're targeting $6,000 to $12,000 set aside. If that sounds intimidating, don't worry. I'm going to break it down in a sec. But here's the truth. Your number might be less or more depending on your life. If you're the sole breadwinner, consider saving towards the higher end, maybe closer to 6 months, or even longer if your work is unpredictable. If you have dual income with your partner and lots of support or a steady job, you might feel okay aiming for the lower end. If you're a freelancer with unpredictable pay, you might want a bigger cushion. Some experts suggest a $500 to $1,000 starter fund is a great milestone if you're just beginning. The most important thing is something is always better than nothing. Even $100 when you need it beats $0. Now, where do you keep this money? I think accessibility is key. You should use an account you can tap into quickly, like an instant access savings or high yield account. Avoid stocks, long-term investments, or accounts that charge penalties. You want this money liquid and ready. So why don't you try this? Calculate your basic monthly costs tonight. Housing, food, bills, transport, etc. Multiply it by 3, and that's your realistic first emergency fund target. Okay, let's be honest. Saving money is boring, and life's expensive enough already. The trick is automate, automate, automate. Here are some battle-tested tactics that you might be able to implement. So the first is automatic transfers. Set up your bank to move money from checking to savings automatically every payday. Even $25 a week adds up, and there's no thinking required. The next is direct deposit splits. If your paycheck comes as a direct deposit, some employers let you send a percentage straight to savings. Out of sight, out of mind, essentially. There's also roundup apps. Apps that round up your everyday purchases to the next dollar and pop the change into savings. It's sneaky and surprisingly effective over time. Then you've got things like budgeting tools. So a lot of budgeting apps now automate savings and even suggest how much you can save each month based on your spending patterns. And one bonus trick. Every time you get a raise or a bonus or even something that you sell on the side, automate half of that extra towards your emergency savings. You'll barely feel it missing. I'll be honest with you. I'm not naturally diligent about saving, but setting up recurring monthly transfers felt like small wins for me that was just on autopilot. Over the months, you kind of forget it's happening, until suddenly you check your account and it's nice to see a lump sum there that's built up. Okay, so here's something not everyone knows. Emergency funds aren't just for big disasters. Sometimes they're the little saves that keep life rolling. Your pet needs urgent care, your laptop dies mid-semester, you have to fly across the country for a family emergency. These everyday emergencies pop up more than you'd think. And here's the weird, lesser-known fact. In some places, having a very small, dedicated emergency fund, like less than $500, can dramatically reduce the odds of you falling into serious long-term debt, even compared to having no fund at all. It's sometimes called the break the cycle effect, because even tiny cash cushions keep financial shocks from spiraling out of control. The difference between $0 and $500 is way bigger than between $500 and $2,000 when you're in a pinch. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. Building an emergency fund isn't about being paranoid or pessimistic. It's about giving yourself options. I like to call it future-proofing your life. It keeps you in the driver's seat, even when life insists on throwing roadblocks. So start small if you have to. Celebrate that first $50 or $100. Stick with your automation and make it part of your routine. And when you reach a milestone, do something nice for yourself. Just don't dip into the fund for it. Okay, before we wrap up, here's a final challenge for you. Tonight, take 5 minutes. Look at your monthly essentials and set your first emergency savings goal. Even if it's just $100, make sure you start. A powerful way I like to think of it is to make your future self grateful to your present self. Remember, it's not about how big your fund is today. It's about building a habit that keeps you safe for every tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next financial life hack. I'll see you in the next video.